Welcome to The Explainer. I'm so thrilled to have you here today because, well, we're going to unpack a topic that is absolutely legendary in the manufacturing and business world, but honestly, it's incredibly misunderstood. Today, we're uncovering the real history and the authentic core improvement methods of Toyota's Kaizen. We're going straight to the source. We're looking at the actual historical internal training materials taught to generations of Toyota leaders to figure out how they really built their powerhouse production system. Let's get right into it.
So I want you to take a quick second and just picture a typical Kaizen event. What comes to mind? For a lot of us, especially here in the West, we instantly think of, a 5-day corporate retreat, or maybe a week-long blitz where a team gets locked in a conference room to totally overhaul a process, right? It's kind of become this standard model marketed by consultants all over the world. But what if I told you that this assumption completely misses the point of how Toyota actually created their culture of continuous improvement?
Okay, let's dive into this, because there's a fundamental disconnect here. On one side, we have the Western myth, that big, highly orchestrated 5-day implementation workshop. But then, on the other side, is the Toyota reality, which is daily, continuous skills development. You see, the original internal Kaizen skills course at Toyota wasn't about a one-off, flash-in-the-pan event. It was about developing the actual day-to-day capability of the individual. It was a highly structured process meant to drill timeless analysis techniques into first-line supervisors and young engineers so they could drive improvements every single day.
And it turns out the reality is just so different from what we're usually sold. Take a look at this quote. It's directly from Isao Kato, who was Toyota's principal training manager for literally decades, and Art Smalley. They write, 5-day implementation workshops were in reality quite rare during the development of Toyota's production system and are virtually non-existent today inside Toyota. I mean, wow, that officially shatters the myth. So if they weren't running 5-day workshops, what exactly were they doing? Well, that is exactly what we're going to explore today.
To make sense of all this, we're going to follow a really clear roadmap. First, we'll trace the origins of Toyota's improvement. Second, we'll look at the requirements of a leader. Third, we'll redefine the critical difference between work versus waste. And finally, we'll break down the 7 types of waste.
All right, let's kick things off with Part 1, Origins of Improvement and how Kaizen actually began.
To really grasp Kaizen, we have to understand the intense historical pressures that forged it. It didn't just magically appear out of thin air, It evolved. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but Toyota actually started out making automated spinning and weaving looms, not cars. Back in 1924, they invented a loom with this ingenious automatic stop feature that triggered the exact moment a thread broke. That was a massive leap in productivity and quality, built right into the equipment. But skip ahead to 1950. Toyota, now an automaker, was facing an absolutely brutal financial crisis. They nearly went bankrupt. They were forced to let go of over 2,000 employees. It was desperate. To survive, they literally had to radically improve their cost competitiveness. And that crisis led directly to the introduction of the Training Within Industry, or TWI, Job Methods Program in 1951 to teach supervisors how to make small, steady improvements. By 1955, they brought in the famous consultant Shigeo Shingo to teach industrial engineering techniques known as P courses. So it was out of this intense, do-or-die pressure to survive that Toyota's structured improvement courses were truly born.
But the mindset itself was already deeply embedded in the company's DNA. It goes all the way back to its founders, Sakichi and Kiichiro Toyota. They established what are called the Toyota precepts. And I really want to draw your attention specifically to the second precept here. Be at the vanguard of the times through endless creativity, inquisitiveness, and a pursuit of improvement. Endless creativity and a pursuit of improvement. That wasn't just some catchy modern corporate slogan. This was a foundational mandate from the very, very beginning.
Which brings us right to Section 2, Leader Requirements and the Expectations of Leaders. So if improvement is a company-wide mandate, who exactly is on the hook for executing it? Well, when Toyota rolled out that TWI training in the early 50s, they established 5 baseline expectations for anyone in a leadership or supervisory role. A leader must have knowledge of the work, knowledge of their responsibilities, the skill to instruct others, the skill in improving methods, and the skill in working with people. Now, I really want you to focus heavily on number 4, skill in improving methods. Inside Toyota, improvement wasn't some optional extra credit side project. No way. It was a mandatory daily expectation for every single leader. And notice how it sits right there sandwiched between instructing and working with people? That is no accident. Introducing a new, improved method almost always requires retraining your team and, let's face it, managing the very human reaction to change. You literally cannot successfully improve methods without those other skills.
All right, moving on to Section 3. Work versus waste, and identifying true value. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it completely flips our normal thinking on its head. We know leaders have to improve methods, but how? It requires a massive conceptual shift because it directly challenges our basic instincts. Think about it. If I ask you, hey, how do we increase production? Your first instinct is probably to add more workers, right? Or buy more machines, work longer hours, just push harder. And sure, from a sheer numbers perspective, yeah, that might get you more units, but it also skyrockets your costs. That is definitely not true Kaizen. The Toyota production system goal is a quality-based approach. The objective is to produce greater qualities of quality product using the resources you already have. You don't work harder, you work smarter by eliminating waste and making the actual job easier.
But here's the catch. To eliminate waste, you have to actually be able to see it. And wrapping your head around this is often a pretty harsh reality check. I mean, we all feel incredibly busy at work, right? But Toyota taught its leaders to categorize that daily effort into 3 slices. The smallest slice is value-added work. That's the actual physical transformation of the product that the customer actually cares about paying for. There's this great old manufacturing saying from Toyota, only the last quarter turn of the final bolt to specified tightening torque is value added to the customer. Everything else is waste. Let that sink in. Then you have the medium slice, which is incidental work. These are things that aren't value-added, but they're required right now, like walking to go get a part. And the biggest slice? Pure, non-value-added waste. Searching for tools, double-handling items, fixing mistakes. The hard truth is, most of what we call work is actually just waste masquerading as effort.
To help employees spot these hidden inefficiencies, Taiichi Ohno, the legendary architect of the Toyota production system, coined 3 essential terms, famously known as the 3 M's. First up is muda, which is any form of pure waste in the process. Second is mura, meaning unlevelness or uneven workloads that just cause massive disruptions. And third is muri, which is placing an unreasonable burden or strain on your people or your machines. All 3 of these are absolutely toxic to efficient operations. A true leader's job is to hunt them down every single day. And that brings us to our final section, Section 4, the 7 types of waste, as defined by Taiichi Ohno.
So the crucial point is that we know we have to hunt down muda, or waste, but what does that actually look like in practice, whether you're on the shop floor or sitting in an office? Well, in the mid-1960s, Taiichi Ohno specifically codified these 7 types of waste to train leaders' eyes. Let's run through them real quick. First, and pay really close attention here, is overproduction, producing more than the customer requires, or doing it too early. Ohno considered this the absolute worst form of waste, hands down, because it actively generates all the other wastes on this list. It leads right into our second waste, excess inventory, which eats up space and manpower just to manage it. Then we have scrap and rework, doing things wrong the first time. Number 4 is wait time, literally just employees standing around waiting for parts or instructions. 5 is excess conveyance, moving materials way more than necessary. 6 is excess motion, like double handling or poorly located tools that make the operator work way too hard. And finally, over-processing, doing more to the product than the customer actually requires, like say, painting something 3 times when 2 is the standard.
And this right here brilliantly illustrates the true power of Kaizen. It's not some fancy 5-day retreat. It is the daily, relentless discipline of seeing the work, identifying those 7 wastes, and empowering your leaders to make the process easier and better. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a provocative question to take back to your own world. Look at your own operations. How much of your team's daily effort is true, customer-defined, value-added work, and how much of it is just incidental waste, just waiting for you to eliminate it? Think about it. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I really hope this changes exactly how you view your daily work.